Hey witches. Kai is not here today. She is taking on a little mental health break, but I do have my friend Echo here. You want to say hello?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was staring at my cat who's staring at me. Hi, I am Echo. I am one of Kyla's weirdo friends.
And Echo, do you identify as a witch or how do you identify?
Um, Honestly, I would just throw myself in a box and just call myself a spirit. I can't say the word today. Spiritualist.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, like I said, Kai's taking a little bit of a mental health break, but don't worry, she's coming back. We're not replacing her or anything. Today we're talking about The Craft. Um,
The 96 version, right?
yes, the 1996 version. The basic synopsis is The Craft is about a girl named Sarah, and she moves to Los Angeles from San Francisco, and she has a history of making strange things happen. Things only get more strange when she meets three girls at school: Nancy, Bonnie, and Rochelle. And the three girls work together to conjure what they most desire, but at what cost?
Dun dun dun.
So, do you have any sort of history with this movie? Because I feel like I'm the only witch who hasn't seen it up until now.
For me, it's actually a very guilty pleasure movie, even though there's a lot of stuff that's kind of about it, unfortunately. But it was 96 and, quote unquote, back in the day.
Yeah. Um, I'm looking forward to talking about the stuff about it because I don't think I really wrote down any things that were besides the one racist girl, which is not one of our main characters, by the way, but um
Thankfully.
if you haven't seen it. Oh, I guess there's that one part with Nancy and Chris.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's gross.
it is very gross.
Yeah. And after seeing the 1996 version, I'm very curious what the new version's like and if it's like better or if it's even like comparable at all.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, and I do want to see it because I do want to see how it compares to the original.
Yeah. Do you know anything about it? Do you know if it's like a direct remake or if it's like a sequel?
I mean, in the title it says Legacy,
Oh, Legacy.
so I'm not entirely sure.
Hmm. Well, the first thing I wanted to say about this movie, like the first note I have about this movie, is that the music is really good. The soundtrack is very 90s, obviously, but it's just very fitting of the vibe.
It
And
really is. It's such a good soundtrack,
I
honestly.
like it a lot. And they have the charmed opening song in here. And I didn't realize until my second watch through. I heard those first couple notes. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's like a little peekaboo, even though Charmed didn't come out until later, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Charmed came out in 98 and this came out in 96.
I'll need to look
Um,
into that because I'm interested in how if there's any other like what is the word I'm looking for? Uh
Easter eggs?
Easter eggs, yeah, and Charmed.
Maybe. We do want to do Charmed eventually because I watched some Charmed growing up.
So did I.
My mom really liked it.
So
Um,
did mine.
have you seen the new Charmed at all?
I have not. And I don't
Me.
know like if it's on any streaming services.
It's on Netflix, I think, because
Oh, okay.
I was trying to watch the old Charmed, and the only place you can watch it is like Tubi TV or something.
Oh, yikes. All right.
Yeah, with ads.
Let me just lend you my mom's DVD collection of Charmed. Oh my God.
Thank you. Um, so yeah, basically Sarah and her family move into this house in Los Angeles, and um there's a couple omens with like this homeless man and some snakes.
The guy comes up later in the movie. Once the coven is together.
Yeah. There's a homeless man who tries to come into Sarah's house as they're moving in. And he's like, "Hey, I found this snake outside. Do you want it?" Okay. And then later on, he sees her in the street when she's hanging out with the three girls, and he tries to chase her down. Sarah and the other three girls all think about him getting hit by a car, and so when it happens, they think that they willed it to happen.
And then they get all excited and wasn't they head to their spot and all freaked out and celebrated about it.
Yeah, and they're kind of talking to Sarah, and they're like, "Oh, like you're a natural witch," and she's like, "Yeah, I guess. Sometimes I'll wish for it to rain and a pipe will burst in my room." And Nancy, who's a very like how would you describe Nancy's character?
Nancy is the kind of try hard bad bitch who kind of wants everyone to like her, except she falls short of that.
Yeah, she wants everyone to like her, but she doesn't want to everyone to know that she wants everyone to like her. Yeah, so after Sarah says something about the water pipe bursting, Nancy's like, "Yeah, right." She doesn't really believe her. And like right off the bat, you can tell there's already some kind of jealousy of Sarah from Nancy. And it kind
There
of,
is a lot of jealousy in this movie.
yeah, it kind of peeks in and out from Nancy. Like sometimes she seems like totally fine with Sarah, and then other times she's just like super obviously jealous of her.
Yes, I think it all stems from Chris, the quote unquote main love interest.
Yeah, Chris, right. So there's a few high school bullies. The first one I'll just mention briefly is Laura, and she picks on Rochelle because she's racist. Laura is racist. Um, which is super fun and great. The other one is in a movie a lot more, and his name is Chris. Sarah goes on a date with him, but then she doesn't want to sleep with him afterwards. So he spreads a rumor about her at school that she's the lousiest lay he has ever had. Um, this guy is not even cute.
He is not, but
Um,
Nancy does take pity on Sarah and goes, he spreads diseases.
yeah. Well, before she even went on a date with Chris, like Nancy tried to warn Sarah about him, like he's a jerk. Don't don't hang out with him. But she wouldn't hung out with him anyway.
It becomes
And
a really strong dramatic turning point in the movie as well, a plot point.
yeah, uh, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But Chris, I kept thinking like the whole time, like he is not even worth all of this work. Like, what is so great about him
He
that
is
we're
not, but a lot, especially high schoolers, they want what they can't have.
yeah, yeah.
If it's further away, the more they want it. And the
And
school they go to is a Catholic school.
that's a good point. Yeah, the school that everyone in this movie goes to is a Catholic school, and there was already a rumor about Nancy, Bonnie, and Rochelle that they were witches. And when Sarah shows up, they're like, "Oh, she's our fourth. Like we can use her to call the corners." Which is another thing we'll get to in a minute.
When she arrives, they were kind of like towards her.
Yeah. And after this thing happens with Chris, where he spreads this rumor, Sarah confronts him and is like, "Hey, why did you say that crap about me?" And he just kind of brushes her off. That kind of like strengthens her bond with the other girls, the three other girls. And that's kind of when they become a coven. and they go on a little day trip to this forest. And this is where that meme comes from.
Oh
The
yeah.
the "We Are the Weirdos, Mister" meme.
Yeah, you're right.
I had no idea that that was from this movie.
I just think it's funny how, of all movies, a meme came from this.
Yeah, I it's just the one though.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen any other screenshots or memes from this movie.
I don't think so, but I'm gonna backpedal a little bit.
Hmm.
I think before they go on their day trip, they actually go to the I'm not sure what to call the shop, the occultist shop.
Oh, yeah, they go to the metaphysical shop
Yes,
with.
metaphysical. Um, Nancy mentions it's a five-finger discount because Sarah says she has no money.
Hmm.
And L'Oreal, she asks if she's going to pay for that. And she says yes. And she says, "You're not like your friends, are you?"
Mm.
And then the day trip happens, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, she because when they first go to the metaphysical shop, Sarah's like, "You're not really into all this stuff, are you?" To Bonnie or whoever. And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, we are." And Sarah kind of just goes along with it and she kind of gets interested. Um, Lirio kind of senses that there's some natural power with Sarah. And it's funny how Sarah says she doesn't have any money, but then she does have money.
And she pays for it. Oh, right. This is where it starts with Chris because she ends up getting a red candle.
That's right. Yeah, she
And
did
she
get a red
asks if you know how
candle.
to use these. And Sarah just goes, "Yeah, you light the wick."
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that line.
That's one of
Um,
my favorite lines, just because the sass in her voice.
yeah. Also the person who plays Sarah, she's in Scream. She plays, I don't remember her name. I'm gonna look it up really quick.
I'm lame, and I don't think I ever watched Scream. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You've never seen Scream?
I don't think I did.
That's okay. I mean, it's like one of the best horror movies, but
I also don't ever watch movies.
yeah, like it's not going anywhere.
I know, but I
Um,
have a very, very bad habit of getting told to watch something and then never touching it.
I could have swore she was in Scream. Am I crazy? Oh, she's in House. That's cool.
Oh, cool.
Um, maybe it's Nancy that's in... Oh, no, no, no. It's Bonnie that's in Scream.
Oh, okay.
It's Bonnie. Okay, the actress who plays Bonnie is Neve Campbell, and Neve Campbell plays Sydney in Scream, Sydney Prescott. So there you go. There's your fun fact.
A round of applause.
We got there. So there's a few things that they do when they get to the little place on their field trip. Um, they talk about as above, so below. They do this little ritual with a knife. They put wine or put blood in their wine. They use incense and they talk about something called menon. So something they do with the knife is they go around in a circle with each of the girls and they say, should you enter this circle without, or how's it go? Should you enter
Um,
this circle with fear
in your
in your
heart.
heart, you should rush upon this blade or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you enter? And then
With
they
perfect
say
love and perfect faith,
perfect love and perfect trust.
perfect trust.
Yeah. So they hold the knife up to their collarbone and they each do it and then they give each other a little smooch and then they go to the next girl.
They
Uh,
also mention that's when they mention their manifestation desires.
yeah, and again, they prick their fingers and put blood in the wine that they all share. This is something that is popular in media, but is not safe to do because of health reasons.
Yeah, it's a very gross ritual, in my opinion. The contamination bothers me.
I mean, I don't know any people who use blood in their practice and ingest it. I know people who use blood in their practice, but I don't know people who ingest blood, especially other people's blood. That is very much a health risk. So,
Yeah, I don't recommend ingesting blood.
yeah, if there's any um ideas that witches use drink blood um for their practices, I just kind of want to clear that up.
I think it might stem from vampires,
Maybe.
honestly. I don't know.
I wrote down incense, but I can't remember why I wrote it down. But they use incense. I mean, everyone uses incense in their practice, I think.
Yeah, it might have just been a detail you saw that was like, ooh,
Yeah. Maybe they had a specific incense they use. I don't remember.
I don't
Um,
either.
so the one deity that they're fixated on is called Menon. And Nancy described it as if God and the devil were playing football, then Menon would be the stadium. And Menon is this fictional deity that the screenwriters for the craft came up with because they didn't want to offend any, like, actual religions or practices. He's supposed to be similar to Odin, Allfather, Zeus, or the Christian god. He's the creator of all things. He's rooted in nature. Um, and I found a quote that says, Manon represents the more primal aspects of human instinct and therefore is most interested in bolstering facets of a devotee who invokes for more self-serving reasons. So Nancy is right up Manon's alley.
Truly.
And I mean, honestly, all four of them kind of are at the beginning because they're all trying to get something they want.
Yeah, they are. They're all very, very into it at first.
Yeah.
But as it goes on, you can see them start to slowly drift apart.
Yeah. There's a couple spells they do when they're drinking the wine. Echo mentioned already they like do the manifestation thing. One of the things that Sarah asks for is attention from Chris, and she brings a photo of him. And the next day, I wrote in all caps in my notes, Chris isn't even cute.
Honestly, again, you're correct. You're very correct.
And then I wrote the part where they bully him at mass is kind of funny. Um,
He deserved it.
because Sarah's spell, her manifestation with her coven kind of worked because Chris is now apologetic and he's like, can I sit with you at mass? Because again, remember they're at a Catholic church school. And so Sarah like has him carry her books and then also Bonnie's books. And
She says she has a bad back.
yeah, and Chris's friends are like making fun of him. And like, I don't know, I have no pity for him.
I do not either. Um, Backing up one more time, I apologize. One of the symbolisms they have in their manifestation is the butterflies.
Oh yeah.
All those butterflies come through, and we're like, and then backing up one more time.
Yeah.
I think Lirio mentions that um when they get the book for Manon, and oh wait, this might be further ahead. Yeah, it is further ahead. She mentions that things come back threefold.
Mm. Yeah, I did write down this, it's just a little further ahead, but like whatever, it's fine. Because I didn't want to talk about the rule of three. At some point, they come back to the metaphysical shop because Sarah's like, I need to undo this love spell. Chris is not letting me breathe. And Lirio's like, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube, babe. They also, at this time, get a book to invoke Menon. Nancy in particular really wants this book.
Yeah, she actually buys this one, I think,
Yeah.
because a very big point is this the part where her stepdad dies.
Yeah. So in between, so they do a couple more magic-y things. So after they bully him at mass, um, they're doing having a sleepover at one of their house, and they do light as a feather, stiff as a board. Have you ever done that?
I have.
You have? Oh my
I
God.
have. Um, I did as a child because I was raised by a very, very spiritual mother who was very into witchcraft at the time. She still
Mm-hmm.
is, but it was just like a silly, goofy mood kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It did not work.
Mm.
We were all mad about it because I was with a bunch of little kids my age, and we were all so very mad about it. So we proceeded to go play Bloody Mary.
Oh my God. No. Okay, I can do light as a feather, stiff as a board, but you cannot pay me money to play Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary did not work on us either. We were very upset about that too. It
I
was
mean,
just not in our luck.
I don't think I would. I don't believe Bloody Mary would work, but I would not take the chance.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't do it either if I had the chance to do it again.
In the craft, light as a feather, stiff as a board does work, and Rochelle is the one who's floating, and then she's like, "How do I get down?" So they do a couple other spells. Rochelle does a spell to make Laura, the racist bully's hair fall out. Bonnie, she has a bunch of scars on her back, and she's so beautiful, and she feels like these scars make her ugly, which makes me sad. But she does a spell to make her scars go away. Nancy, we don't see her do a spell, um, but she does make her mom's boyfriend or husband
I think boyfriend.
um have a heart attack, and they get money because he dies.
Yes, he has a very good life insurance plan.
Yeah.
Um, Nancy is very much Rochelle calls her trailer trash in that same scene
Yeah.
because they asked why her spell isn't working. And Rochelle goes, she's trailer trash or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, she says she just doesn't she doesn't want to be white trash, but she can't help that she's white or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but what about the like living in poor conditions part? Like everyone else's spell is working. So I can understand why she's frustrated.
Yeah, I can
And
too.
she also has the most, to me, I feel like objectively, I feel like she has the most intense situation that needs the most help out of all of them. The other
Yeah,
like
I agree.
yeah, the other things suck, but
You can tell the other girls live upper middle class at the time.
yeah,
And Nancy, you can tell, is very, she lives in a trailer park, I'm
yeah.
assuming.
It looks like it, yeah. Um, but her mom's boyfriend has a heart attack and he dies. Because Nancy like makes him have a heart attack. She makes something in her kitchen explode, and then she stares at him and he has a heart attack. Um, and so they get a ton of money, they get a really nice apartment, and her mom gets this jukebox that only plays Connie Francis. And I just felt like that was a really nice touch because that's such a parent thing to do. Like that's such a
Yeah, I think it was a very important plot point because the rest of the apartment wasn't really decorated. It was very minimalistic.
yeah.
And they really, really focused on that jukebox.
Yeah. She's like, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted this jukebox that only plays Connie Francis. And they're like, who's Connie Francis? And she's like, oh, shut up and listen and learn. And then they all go to Nancy's room and they're like, okay, bye, Mrs. Nancy's mom. Like, whatever. Have fun. And she's like, no, wait, let me tell you about Connie Francis. So I was
Oh,
like,
she was so excited about Connie Francis.
I just feel like that's such like our generation's parents, like a good picture of how they act.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
very
know.
mom thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, they play around with glamour magic a little bit. Mostly just Sarah does, honestly.
Yeah.
She changes her eye color, she changes her hair color. Glamour magic comes up later in a very gross way, and I'll have to give a trigger warning,
Yeah,
probably.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know why, but here is where I wrote down stuff about calling the corny,
Corners.
cor- calling the corners and casting a circle.
That's
Um,
for Menon.
yeah. Oh yeah, this is when they're invoking Menon on the beach. Obviously, like you know what this is, but
Yeah, they call the corners north, south, east, and west,
mhm,
and each which has an element.
mhm,
Sarah's element is earth, Nancy's element is air, Bonnie's is fire, and Michelle's is water.
mhm.
It kind of plays a really interesting role because Sarah is a natural witch. Um, Bonnie got hurt in a fire. That's where her scars are from.
Oh,
Rochelle has the whole swimming pool
swimming
incident.
pool thing. Yeah.
I'm not sure about Nancy, but since Nancy's is air, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe
Maybe
because she's an apartment.
maybe they just had air left over and they're like, give it to Nancy.
I think that sounds about right.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so where the bully kept bullying Rochelle was while they were in gym class or whatever and she was swimming, or they were,
That's when her hair started falling out.
yeah. So yes, everyone's spell worked. Rochelle's spell to make her bully's hair fall out worked. And it just kept falling out. She was going bald. Um,
Bonnie had that experimental treatment for her scars, and it ended up working miraculously.
yeah. And then obviously Nancy got the life insurance money. And Chris is still in love with Sarah.
I would take it a step further and just put it as obsessed at that point.
Yeah, obsessed. Yeah.
Because the whole incident with Sarah and Chris, it starts escalating.
Hmm. Um, so for those of you who don't know, the calling the corners and casting a circle thing is like an actual thing that witches do.
Yes.
Um, it's an act of protection that a witch can do before any spell work or ritual. It's to make sure that any energies that like aren't welcome don't enter the circle while the workings are happening, and any energies that are welcome or called upon can be brought into the circle. You don't need 4 people to cast a circle, and maybe I'm a bad witch, but I do not cast a circle every time I do spell work.
I don't think I've ever actually casted a circle doing spell work, which is really bad, but I do protective stuff. So I think it for every practicing witch is different.
Yeah, I've cast a circle by myself once because I do all my spell work in my house, obviously, and my house is protected. And I think I've cast a circle once in my witching life. And when I've gone to rituals with like other people, they have cast circles, and that's fine. Like I think that's appropriate because we're like outside and
I don't think I've ever actually casted a circle with other witches either, now that I think about it.
well,
Huh.
they had like specific people cast a circle. And
Okay.
yeah, they had like 4 people say their little thing about the watchtower of the east and blah 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 blah. And then we were all in a circle and we just kept the circle like closed. It was a big like Samhain ritual.
Gotcha. I think the
And
most I've done was just be in a direction.
yeah, that's what I did when the first time I cast the circle is I was just like I faced the direction I was supposed to face. I said some words, then I faced the other direction. I don't do that anymore. I can't be bothered. I don't know.
it personally just doesn't work with what I do.
Yeah, but that is a thing, that is a real thing that is in this movie. Yeah, they cast the circle and they do the ritual to invoke Menon. Menon chooses Nancy, lightning strikes her. They all
And
kind of
they all pass out.
yeah, they pass
They had
out.
jars of different types of animals and insects.
That's right, yeah.
And when the lightning strikes, every one of them bursts. They all pass out, cutscene. And then they wake up, and Nancy is walking on water
Mm-hmm.
and is explaining to them because they hear all this hubbub across the beach. And it is just a bunch of unalived sea animals on the beach. And Nancy says, "This is a gift from Manon,"
Yeah,
and that
she's
he is inside of her.
yeah, yeah, this part just yeah, there's a bunch of sharks that got beached on the beach and Nancy is like, "These are my gifts." And I'm sitting there like, "Girl, not everything is about you."
Yeah, at this point, I think in the movie it becomes very clear that Nancy is power hungry, very power hungry, and she will not stop until
Yeah.
she gets what she wants, and that her ideals and ideas aren't the best or the good witch, bad witch, black and white kind of concept.
Mm-hmm. Because right after this, there's this convo that happens in Nancy's car, and she keeps freaking driving, and she's like, what color is that light? Like the street light. And they're like red, and she's like, doesn't red mean stop? And she like doesn't
She
that seems
accelerates.
stressed me out.
It did, me too. It it was like very, very nerve-wracking. And the last one, they go, that was a little close.
Yeah, the car does almost hit them. And while they're in this car, before the car almost hits them, um, Sarah's talking to them. She's like, "Bonnie, you used to be so nice, and now you're just full of yourself." And she's like, "Hey, I've spent a large portion of my life hating the way I look and everything, like, and now I'm enjoying myself, so sue me." And that's the only like specific comment I remember from Sarah, but she was saying like, you guys are different now, basically.
Yeah, and I think Nancy mentions that if she wants out of the circle, that they don't need her anymore because
Yeah.
Nancy is all powerful.
Yeah. And Sarah's like, I don't want out of the circle. I'm just telling you guys like you're being brats. And um Nancy's like, stop trying to win them over. And she's like, I'm not, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it becomes kind of ridiculous, honestly. It becomes a wild power play between the two.
It's very teenage girl catty nonsense.
Yeah, with the whole teenage girl clique going on.
Mm-hmm. All their spells get to be a little too much. Chris is being nasty. Like he shows up at Sarah's house at like 3 a.m. He's like, "Hey, can we move in together?" And she's like, "Chris," she's like literally so tired. She's like, "I'm not ready for that." And her dad shows up. He's like, "Can I help you?" And then he leaves. And
He's
then
Her dad shines a light on him, and he can tell he is not right. He is not okay.
yeah,
There is something very wrong, and that's from the spell, making him a little too much.
yeah. Um, and then they have a phone call, and he says something about like how she looks, and she's like, "You literally can't even see me right now," but okay. And they arrange to like hang out or something or get dinner. They hang out in his car, they talk for a while. She's like venting to them, or she's venting to him about how she gives one negative feedback to the girls and they all turn on her. And she's upset about it. And he's like, yeah, I totally know how that feels. And she's like, you do? And he's like, no. He's like, I literally was just wondering, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. She's like, do you ever wonder like where these feelings come from? She asks Chris this, and he's like, no, I just woke up one day and felt like I needed to see you. And like, now I like you're all I think about. Like, I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping. Like, it's just all Sarah all the time. So there is a small trigger warning here. Well, it's going to lead into a big trigger warning. So I'm just going to give a full trigger warning here for,
Very large trigger warning.
yeah. I was going to say just attempted sexual assault because there is attempted sexual assault and then there like is sexual assault.
Yeah.
So yeah, just full on sexual assault. So if you can't handle that right now, that's totally okay. I will see you next week. Or you can just skip a little bit. Maybe I'll put a timestamp in the show notes when the conversation about that is over. I'll do my best to do that for you. While they're in the car, Chris is like, let me give you a back massage. And she's like, fucking no, I don't want a fucking back massage. And she tries to get out of the car. He chases her out of the car, tries to pin her down. It doesn't work. She kicks him off because she's great and strong. And
She's like, fuck that, no.
yeah, and she runs away and she ends up at Rochelle's house. And I really am curious how far she had to run to
Yeah, me
get.
too. Because they're on like kind of a cliff area,
Yeah. Um and
and it looked like she
Rochelle,
was running through woods.
yeah. Rochelle opens the door and she's like, oh my god, like, are you okay? And she opens the door. Nancy and Bonnie are already in Rochelle's house, so they talk about what happened. Nancy's fucking pissed. And she's like, someone needs to go teach him a lesson. And they're like, where do you think he is? And someone's having a party. One of the two little douchebags, that's Chris's friends, who, like, I don't like them because they're shit, but I really appreciate I really appreciate the actors who play them because
They played them well and they were written well.
yes, because like I knew those guys in high school.
Me too.
Like the part where they're like, where Sarah walks off after confronting him when he spreads the rumor. They're like, she's gonna cry, and then I'm gonna cry, and then we're all gonna cry. It's like, oh my god, like I knew these fucking assholes in high school.
A big same.
Anyways, it's one of their parties, and Nancy goes and she finds Chris. He's like, oh my god, is Sarah with you? And so Nancy doesn't really say anything. He follows her upstairs. Nancy tries to put the moves on him.
He gets very upset.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want you. I want Sarah. Nancy gets very upset because she was rejected, but then she glamours into Sarah, like a full body glamour.
It's just an intense scene where he gets really into her Nancy then through that.
Yeah, and that is like, fuck Chris. Like, we don't stand Chris, but it doesn't matter because if you are signing up to have sex with person A and instead you find out that you were having sex with person B, that is not consent.
It is not 100% full on stop. No, it is not.
It was really gross. Um, so Nancy does that. Bonnie, Rochelle, and Sarah go to the party to find Nancy because they're like, we know she's gonna do some shit. Sarah walks into the bedroom where Chris is with Nancy, and as soon as she walks in, with her Sarah looking self, because she's Sarah, Nancy's glamour comes off, and Chris looks at her and he's like, oh shit, I was just violated. So that's fun.
Do we need another trigger warning for the
Yeah, there's also another trigger warning here for murder.
I would say trigger warning for murder, implied suicide, but it's not really, but it was kind of, because otherwise Nancy wouldn't have got off on that. It just kind of swept it underneath the rug.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when Sarah is talking about it later with her dad, he says that it was an accident. Because like it was a party with alcohol, so I'm sure that like on the surface, the authorities probably thought that he was just drunk and fell out the window or something.
Yeah.
Sarah was like, Nancy, that's enough. You've had your fun. Whatever, let's go. And Nancy's like, he needs to pay. And some words are exchanged, and he's like, I'm sorry. Nancy's like, oh, he's sorry.
Sorry. He's sorry. He's sorry. He's sorry. And she gets in
Mm-hmm.
that that's I think when she hits her, I don't want to say manic, but it's kind of manic
Mm-hmm.
energy. You can see, I'm gonna point out another detail that's in the movie. Um, Watch Nancy's hair throughout the movie. The
Um,
longer it goes on, the more wild her hair gets, the more unkempt and kind of spiky.
yeah, I didn't notice that. That's definitely happens in the movie. I didn't.
Yes, I have watched the movie enough times because again, it is a very guilty pleasure. You pick up on things after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, her hair becomes more and more unkempt
Yeah.
and it gets poofier and poofier. I think towards the end it calms down. I think
Um,
at the last part. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember all of that part.
After that, well, after Nancy's going
She kind of
berserk,
magics him.
yeah, she magics him out the window and he falls and presumably pretty much confirmed dies.
There were a lot
Um,
of screams.
yeah, and the way they talk about him afterwards doesn't make it seem like he survived that fall. So,
And he never shows up again, so
yeah, and then
I'm sorry.
they also talk about his two friends, and it is presumed that they did something to their friends as well, like they had also died or been murdered by Nancy and Co. And Sarah's like, what the fuck? So Sarah tries to cast a binding spell on Nancy. And I really like this shot of spell work because um it's very realistic, I feel like it's very a very simple spell that is very much something that a real witch would do.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, so she casts that binding spell on Nancy, but it doesn't work.
A big part of that, I think, is Sarah doesn't feel like she's strong enough to bind Nancy
Mm,
because it plays into the whole natural witch thing again.
mm,
Yeah, the whole natural witch thing because it comes up again later. Like it comes up several times, and I want to discuss this after
mm-hmm.
because there's stereotypes about witches in this that I want to talk about after.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few things after Sarah tries to buy Nancy, um, the girls are giving her bad dreams. They corner her in the bathroom and they're like, hey, how are you sleeping? Because they're assholes. Nancy's like, please stop trying to cast spells on me. And Nancy also says, back in the day when a witch betrayed her coven, they would kill her. So it's just a small little cute threat.
But one of those threats is kind of oh, what's the word for that? Foreshadowing of more parts to come
Yeah.
that are fun to watch.
So then we get to the big end sequence. Um, so after this happens, after the bathroom scene,
Oh, after this part, I think she runs out and go goes
I
out to Lorio's shop again. Lirio's shop. I keep saying her name wrong. Lirio's shop. And she explains to her about what happened. and that she can't stay there anymore because the girls are coming after her.
Yeah. And Lirio's like, I will help you bind Nancy. It will invoke Manon and we'll bind Nancy. It'll be fine. And she's like, Lirio, I can't. They'll find me, whatever. And then they start to invoke Manon. Like they start to cast a circle with just the two of them. But then I think lightning strikes or like there's a big fiery explosion and Nancy's like, I can't, I gotta go. And then she runs home.
Yeah, she does, and it's a little bit of both of the lightning and the...
Yeah, lightning, fire, whatever. What we think happens is Sarah's parents thought she ran away from home for some reason
Yeah,
back to
what
San
had happened
Francisco.
was I think Nancy casted a glamour,
Right.
and I think she might have
Um,
casted a glamour on her parents as well.
she cast it on her parents and on the TV because
Yes.
she put like um she wrote down like a flight number and then on the TV she saw the same flight number like crashed and burned or whatever. And
And
that's
there is no survivors.
supposedly, yeah, and that's supposedly the flight that her parents were on. And
Oh,
so,
Nancy had glamored oh, a letter to her parents
oh,
that
she did.
yeah,
Oh,
or remembering wrong, that she went back home
oh,
because I think she glamored two pieces of paper. Or I'm remembering wrong because she mentioned how Sarah was sorry, da 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 da, and that's why,
well, you've seen
because
it more times than I have, so
it referenced trigger warning for like suicide attempts because
right.
it becomes, if it gets picked up again from the sequence, Nancy and the other girls show up, and instead of walking, they're all floating because they hit that
Right.
all powerful
Right.
I am Manon, I am the most powerful being. And it becomes this weird sequence of cat and mouse where they chase each other. This is where the second piece of paper comes in about the glamour on it, in Sarah's handwriting, saying that she's sorry, and it's basically a suicide letter.
Okay.
Going back a little bit before they get to the house, Sarah starts having hallucinations again. She suffered with hallucinations before, she mentions this, and bugs and all these kinds of things start appearing, and Nancy makes fun of her for it. But Sarah starts getting that strength back during that chase because Nancy slices her wrist,
Mm.
and Sarah runs up the stairs crying. She's got trying to get it to stop because she said it wasn't real. And Nancy goes, "Why are you still bleeding?"
Yeah,
And makes fun of her, telling her that crying up to your room, like the little, I forget the exact quote,
I don't
but
know.
she calls her a baby, basically, and
Yeah.
pathetic, weak. She ends up getting it to stop. She's laying there. She sees a photo of her mother, and the other girls go up to check on her because Nancy's like, "Go on." And the other girls are like, "This has gone too far." There's a mirror on the top of the stairs that wasn't shown before, and it shows the girls. They look in the mirror, they see themselves, but it's a glamour. They
Mm-hmm.
see themselves as their spells come back to them 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not real. And they get freaked out. They run downstairs, and Nancy's just like, "What the fuck?" So Nancy goes on the check on Sarah, and this is where Sarah starts trying to bind Nancy again because Sarah sees a photo of her mother. Her mother is a natural witch too,
Mm-hmm.
and it's storming outside, so perfect weather conditions for a powerful binding spell.
Mm-hmm.
But this is when it becomes kind of unrealistic, like really, really, really unrealistic, because there becomes another chase scene, a fight scene too, I
Mm-hmm.
would say, where Nancy and Sarah get into it because Sarah again is trying to bind Nancy. Nancy comes up. She kind of shut all the air and stuff gets. Oh, this is where the air comes in. The air, because she floats the
Okay.
storm, the weather.
Mm-hmm.
That's all her thing. Air.
Oh, right, 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 right.
It comes into a close where she's trying to kill Sarah, and she starts going after her. This part is where it gets blurry for me a little bit because I'm bad and I didn't
It's
rewatch it.
no, but like it's all over the place though, because like
It
I'm
is.
I'm watching it in my head as you're describing it, and like it's a lot of back and forth.
It
And
is.
this last part where they're fighting, they're chasing, because like Sarah almost dies, and
She
then she
does.
she invokes Manon, and this is when Nancy comes back up, and then like you said, like there's storm going on, and this is when Sarah tries to bind Nancy, and Nancy says something like, I know I can be a little crazy sometimes, I didn't mean for it to go this far, I'm sorry. And she starts to bind Nancy, and she's like, wait, stop, please don't. Like, because she had already asked, please don't cast spells on me. But like, what were you expecting, Nancy? Like, you are
Exactly.
you are being literally unhinged.
She then reverts back to her manipulative ways and being very, very angry
Yeah,
and upset at the world. She goes after Sarah again.
yeah, she freaks out.
And then the dresser comes on and flies at them. And Sarah kind of like disappears into the
Yeah, her clothes,
clothes.
like she's like, where are you? And then she's digging through the clothes, and then she finds just like the outline of her clothes, like a flat sweater and a flat skirt, and she's gone. And she goes, tricky, tricky. And in my head, I'm like, it's tricky. Like I'm singing that song in my
Me too.
head.
That happens every single time I see this movie.
I don't remember how she,
She tries to go stab her in the heart,
right.
but Sarah comes like reappears into her clothing and kicks her, like
Mm-hmm.
kicks her off.
Did she knock her
And
out?
she gets thrown into that mirror.
Mm,
And then I think she knocks her out because she gets rebinded. Then that's when the binding actually works and
yeah,
sticks. And she goes, I bind thee, Nancy, from doing harm against yourself and harm against others.
yeah. And it's just, it feels like a very long scene, like a very, very long scene. Um, so she binds Nancy. It's like the next day. It doesn't really say, but I'm assuming it's the next day or like a few days later.
Yeah, I assume the same.
Um, it's daytime. Her dad is around. She's outside doing something with the car. Bonnie and Rochelle show up, and they're like, "Hey, we just wanted to say sorry for like trying to kill you." And Sarah's like, "Yeah, no biggie, I guess." And they're like, do you still have powers? Because we don't. And oh, that's another thing. While they're fighting, while Nancy is fighting with Sarah, Sarah, had invoked Menon, and she said that Menon had a message for Nancy, that he was pissed that they were abusing their powers, and they had to pay for abusing their
Yeah,
powers or something like that. So now Bonnie and Rochelle don't have their powers anymore, and they're like, but if you ever want to hang out and like call the corners or something, like, you know, and Sarah's like, hold your breath until I call you. So basically, like, go fuck yourself. And then they turn away and they're like, she probably doesn't even have powers anyway. And then Sarah dramatically turns, the wind blows in her hair, and she makes some tree branches fall near them.
and they
So she,
freak out.
yeah, she clearly still has powers. She says to Bonnie and Rochelle, you wouldn't want to end up like Nancy. And it cuts to Nancy, and she's in what appears to be a mental hospital, and she's all tied up in, what are those called? The suits?
Uh,
Straight jackets.
yeah, straight jacket.
she's in a straitjacket and she's like, I can fly. And she's like acting all crazy and
Yeah,
like,
she's clearly having delusions at that point.
yeah. And I thought that ending was dumb.
I
I
did
thought,
too. I really did because the nurse that came in also injected her with a tranquilizer
hmm.
and that calms her down, but it's a very, I think, badly done ending.
It's so dumb. Like, I don't know what, like, I'd have to think for a little bit about what I would do instead. I should have thought about this before we recorded so I could offer an alternative, but I just thought that ending was so stupid.
I did too. I really did.
um, but I wrote, I liked it okay. I give it a 3 out of 5. I would watch it again. I did. I watched it again today. I've seen it twice in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's The Craft. I I do feel like I was missing out on some witchy pagan culture. Um, so I'm glad I finally watched it. As far as like a cult classic,
I don't think it has to be watched.
yeah,
It's easy to skip out on it. You could easily just look up a summary even
yeah.
and get the full experience.
I am glad I watched it. Oh, and so originally, um, guys, we were always planning on having Echo on as a guest. But before we were going to have Echo on as a guest, we were going to have my dad on as a guest. But he's sick right now.
Which
And
sucks.
I asked his wife to give me some words about it from him. And he said, I think it was a really good movie. It gave both sides light and dark and explained it pretty well. Um, which is all she typed up for me. I feel like he probably has a more in-depth review than that, but he's sick right now, so um I remember him saying that back in the day, like this was their only real representation of any sort of real kind of pagan practices in the media. Because while this is like not quite right, it is still, there's still stuff that's accurate, like the binding spell, the calling of the corners. They say blessed be at some point. They say as above, so below. They do the candle magic for the love spell with the red candle. Um, there's some accurate things in here. If I
I
was a
think at
witch
the
back,
time it was very, very important
yeah, if I was a witch back then, I might be a little more
because I think that's when the whole devil craze was going around.
the satanic panic.
Yeah, the Satanic Panic
Yeah,
and how everything was the devil.
yeah. So I think it's kind of cool that they had this movie, but at the same time, like watching it now, I'm like kind of sad that this is the only movie that they
Yeah, me
had.
too.
I don't know if there's a better movie out there.
There probably is.
I mean, it might be like a small indie movie that I just haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Um, even Sabrina, there's a few things in that. No, never mind. I take it back.
I just
No.
took the instant regret.
I mean, because there's a few things in Sabrina that I'm like, yeah, like I do that. And like, yeah, like that makes sense. But not enough for me to justify.
Uh, understandable.
But I'm hoping that eventually we'll get like maybe the new craft is like,
Yeah, I need to watch that.
I don't
But
know,
I
maybe
do have some gripes though about the 96 version of the craft because the portrayal of the good and bad witch, the good and evil thing, black and white kind of
mm,
deal,
yeah.
painting the natural witch is like the only safe good way to go is like being kind of bored into it.
Yeah. They kind of do that, don't they?
They do, and it's kind of dumb because that's not how magic works.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know anybody personally who identifies as a natural witch that was born with natural abilities. Um at least I don't think I do.
I
Uh
personally was unfortunately poured into it because don't quote me on this. Apparently, I have a family history of practicing witches.
mm,
So I grew up around all of this kind of things. But
right, you were born into it and then you are also um sensitive.
I am.
So, and I don't know, like, I feel like I've heard that's hereditary, but I don't know
I
for sure.
I can't say yes or no to that,
Mm,
but it's a weird thing. I'm not super into because I grew up dealing with spirits. That was the big thing with spirits.
mm-hmm.
Except now I just refuse to work with spirits because I don't know. I like to have my privacy.
Right.
I like the quiet.
Yeah.
And because I was told several times that I'm a beacon,
Mm-hmm.
so spirits are kind of drawn to me. Woo. But it's like, no, please.
I did not sign up for this job.
Exactly.
I did not apply. Um,
Exactly.
so
Because I've had some weird experiences and I don't like dealing with that. Nope, not for me. Thank you.
so being brought up around witches and being born a witch,
It doesn't make you a strong witch.
yeah, it
It doesn't
doesn't.
make you more powerful or more knowledgeable than any other type of witch.
What makes you a strong witch is studying,
Yes, it practicing when
studying
you
and
can.
practicing. Yeah. And some of us, me, um, can't always practice because of like chronic pain or just life, you
That's
know?
a mood because I am a patron of a deity and I keep forgetting to set out cut off readings.
Yeah, have you seen that hawk lately?
I have not. It has not appeared again. It's gone. It's completely gone. And I'm like, oh no, I have not been setting out anything for him. I've like I've done prayers and be like, hey, if you do this thing for me, haha, I'll set out something, and I never do. I never do because I forget about it because I have ADHD. I need to do these things before I go to sleep at night instead of saying I'll do it in the morning.
I found this app called Timo. I might put this in here because I want them to sponsor me. I found
Do
this
it.
app. I found this app called Timo and it's designed for people with ADHD and autism. It's like to help you plan your day because I don't know about you, but I have a really hard time like visualizing like how much time a task will take.
Oh, I suffer from that, and
And
I overcount.
yeah, and you like put in each task and the amount of time it'll take and then like you can put it into a bigger task like a morning routine or a nighttime routine
Oh, that's
and it like
nice.
puts like for example like if I put all the tasks I need for my morning routine into that routine it's like oh it'll only take me an hour whereas like before I would think like oh to have a morning routine that's going to take me like 3 hours so it like helps you like actually structure and visualize your day.
That's quite lovely. I like that. I need to check that app out.
Yeah, and there's tasks you can do that like aren't set at a certain time, so you can just do them whenever.
Ooh,
And
that's
then
nice.
tasks that you do at a certain time, and then you can still put checklists in them.
Okay, that
I
actually
really like
sounds
it.
better than the current app I use
Yeah, it's really I've been using it for a week or so.
because I
Um,
use Finch, which you dress up a little
oh,
bird.
I love Finch. Finch is so cute.
And I'm falling out of it because I don't have the plan. I just recently got
Mm-hmm.
sponsored. I got sponsored last month through one of their people because you can sponsor random people and get them free month.
Hmm.
It's really nice. But once it gets boring after a while because I've run out of stuff I want to do, like get the clothes. I've run out of clothes that I want to buy,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really like Finch, but like
It doesn't help me visualize things.
I feel like I have too many tasks for the day.
Yeah, it's hard to actually make your own task for
Yeah,
that. You can't really add your own task unless you're a member.
but the Timo thing, it is like it's $28 a year after the 2 week trial.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. If it really works for you, then like I think it's totally worth the money. For me, I think I'm probably gonna do it.
Yeah, because that's
But
not very much for a whole year. That's you can't beat that.
I think you can pay monthly too. Like I think it's like $4 a month.
Oh, that's nice.
Anyways, tangent. What the fuck were we talking about?
Black and White Witches,
Oh yes,
Hereditary,
Hereditary Witches.
Hermes, and how that Hawk was like, hello.
Yeah.
Because really, no, the thing is for offerings for Hermes is so easy because I can just leave out a cup of coffee or a spoonful of honey. That's literally it's that easy. And I
Do
still
your
have not
cats do your cats ever fuck with the honey?
no, but they fuck with my coffee. Like I have to
Mm.
super garden my coffee because Teddy likes to stick his grubby little paws in it.
What the hell, Teddy?
I know, he's weird. Like I no matter where I put it, he will go after that coffee and try to stick his paws in it. It's like
I
I have to hide it as if he's gonna spike my coffee with something because he'll just sneak up just so he can stick his paws in it.
I have been leaving coffee out for my ancestors and my guides. Um, but it's occurring to me that they might appreciate something else, like a certain kind of tea or a certain kind of food, like maybe bread or something. But I need to do more research because I don't know I don't know much about like Swedish imports
That's
and
understandable.
Norse imports. So yeah, I need I need to look into that. Lirio does say that like black and white magic isn't really a thing because uh all magic is, what does she say? She says
Oh God, I don't remember the quote.
all magic is good and evil. It's all contained in nature. Like all magic is everything. Everything is magic. Something like something along those lines. That's much more eloquently put.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to look up the quote right now.
She says that she says whether or not the magic is good or evil is up to the witch who casts the spells. But the magic itself is neutral.
Yes.
So, and that I think is accurate. Is there anything else about the movie and like witches and witchcraft that you think we should touch on?
Um, I had ideas. The whole element thing.
Mm-hmm.
They did really good on that for the movie.
Yeah, I wrote down for they use the elements a lot because there's four of them. There's four elements unless you count unless you're considering the pentagram, in which case there are five. Um, but the four corners are earth, fire, air, and water, which is north, south, east, and west. They do focus a lot on the nature aspect of magic in this movie, which is
They do, they
nice.
really do.
And I don't know a lot of practices that aren't nature based.
Yeah, a lot of it's what I can call manufactured. Would that be the right term to call it?
But in the craft,
Um, like in general, media presents a lot of magic as really manufactured because they sell kits to be a witch now as well.
yeah, yeah, it'll have like a piece of rose quartz and a candle and
White sage,
yeah, white sage.
that was a big one when that's not even appropriate because unless
Yeah.
you're from that culture, that doesn't actually work for you.
Yeah, so white sage is sacred to indigenous tribes, and if you not even just like I tend to just immediately go to say if you're white because it's I don't
It's
want
a
to say
white
it's
people
usually
problem.
yeah, I don't want to say it's usually white people doing it, but like it's usually white people doing it. Um but
I can point at my mom and go, "Hey, stop doing that," because I managed to get her to stop.
But if you're not indigenous, like don't use white sage. There are so many other things to use to and also the word smudging is specifically for indigenous, like that's an indigenous practice.
Yes,
What we are doing when we use bundles to smoke cleanse is literally
smoke
like
cleanse.
it's smoke cleansing. Um for me, I have a bundle of I think it's cedar and lavender. I haven't touched it in a minute because, it's cold outside.
I have not used any smoke cleanse in a while because my fire alarm is so touchy. I do not want to set it off.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, folks. If you're using fire in your practice, use
Be
your fire,
careful.
use your fire smarts. Be
Yeah,
safe.
be very safe. Be careful. You don't want to lose everything and potentially your life. It is not worth it.
And also, I recently learned I don't use charcoal for
Hmm.
incense or anything, but I learned that because you can use little charcoal discs for like loose incense. I
Oh.
learned that unless if you use charcoal with like all the windows shut, you can like
Oh, carbon monoxide.
yeah, you can die. So don't do that.
Yeah, do that in a well ventilated place.
Yes. So that's another thing I will not be doing until it is warmer outside. Because I love like I have the stuff to make loose incense, so that was really exciting for me to learn about. But it's cold outside, so I'm not opening the windows.
Yeah,
So
be a safe witch. Don't be a dumb witch.
don't be a dumb witch.
There's
So
a lot of physical things in the movie to kind of like make it more dramatic, but a lot of witchcraft isn't like that. That doesn't exist like immediate results or like very big
like the glamour.
displays. Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, when Sarah like makes her eyes brown or she makes her hair blonde, um, or or when Nancy literally turns into Sarah. Glamour magic is a real thing, but it's not like that. Glamour magic is something I like to call self-care magic because that's kind of what it is to me. I
You
don't
might
think
be
that's
onto
what it is.
something.
I don't think it's what it is for everyone, but to me, in my head, I'm like, it's self-care magic.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna steal that from you.
I don't think I'm not an expert in glamour magic, so like I would like to hear what you think glamour magic is.
I honestly don't have a very big opinion on glamour magic. I don't work with that kind of stuff.
Um,
The stuff I work with really is very hands-on spell work,
mhm,
along with a lot of like working with spirits. And that's really, really hands-on
mhm,
and seances and stuff like that. That's why I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it because I grew up doing all that kind of stuff.
mhm.
I had a weird experience with spirits, and I don't feel like being part of that again because that was really freaky, and I don't want to experience what I experienced again.
I think I talked to Kai about this on another episode. I've never seen a ghost. I know that spirits are, I've sensed spirits before, but I've never seen one.
I don't recommend it
I do not wish to, unless it's a cat, or like a
because
dog. Like if it's an animal, cool.
if you work with spirits, like any boundaries, 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 boundaries.
I feel about spirits the way I feel about spiders. Like, it's cool if you're here. You stay in your corner. I'll stay here. We can live symbiotically in peace as long as you stay in your corner and I stay over here and we don't interact.
That is completely fair. I do not want to be anywhere near spirits anymore. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me.
Like, if there's just one passing through, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you hang out, don't fuck with my shit, have some water, leave me alone.
You're much more welcoming than I am.
Do not become an apparition. I will shit myself.
That is very fair.
um I
That's a
feel
very appropriate response to that, honestly.
I have like the heebie-jeebies just thinking about seeing like a full-bodied ghost. I think I want to make a separate clip too of like all the spirity stuff in case I don't keep all of it in.
That's fine. You can do whatever the hell you want with this is your stuff. You
There'll
can
be
do
bonus
whatever the
stuff.
hell you want. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
I'm very proud of myself. I didn't go yeehaw several times throughout the I
um
was I was controlling the yeehaws.
in our first episode, Kaya said howdy, and we wanted to find a cowboy witch.
Hi. Hello. I'm here.
We found one. And I said, I'm sure there's one out there. So here we go. We found one.
I was here all along. The craft didn't handle mental health very well.
No, the craft didn't handle mental health very well. There's a few problematic things in this movie. Um, so I already have to put a trigger warning for sexual assault, attempted suicide / self-harm, and we've done horror movies before, so I don't know if I'll put a trigger warning for death / murder. I will put in the description that this is a horror movie, maybe. It
Yeah, that
technically
might be a
is,
good idea.
right?
Yeah, but that might be a good idea, honestly. But there is also hallucinations,
Yeah, it's a horror fantasy. Yeah, hallucinations. Um,
bugs, like yeah, hallucination of bugs.
I just feel like the last scene with Nancy is very like, it's not just that it's stupid. Like, it's not just that it's a bad ending.
I think it was just handled poorly.
It was also handled poorly. Like, I feel like that was a very cheap way to not only handle the fact that, like, oh, she's a witch and so she doesn't have powers anymore, so let's just throw her in a loony bin, but also like it's a very cheap, lazy way to handle her character.
I think she deserved better at the end. Even if she was terrible, she obviously had a bunch of bad shit going on. And that doesn't excuse anything she did,
Yeah.
but she deserved better. Like I don't know what I would do for because I'm not a professional, obviously, but I don't think that was the right approach.
No. Because, like I said, it's a cheap and lazy way to deal with the fact that she's a witch who doesn't have her powers anymore and she feels like she still does. It's a cheap and lazy way to deal with someone who was a witch, had powers, doesn't anymore, and is like having a mental break because of that. Like, she could, I know it was the 90s and like we were very much in a different place when it comes to mental health and like how we get help back then, but it could have been handled better. It was
It could
the
have.
times, whatever. That's
It might have been
stupid.
done for dramatic flair, but still, it could have been treated better.
Given the year it was made in, I feel like there probably wasn't, and I'm putting air quotes for those of you who can't see me, there probably quote unquote wasn't a better way to deal with it, because they didn't think of that kind of stuff back then, which is sad. I don't know. I really wish that I would have thought about it some more, and then came to the podcast with like an alternative option for Nancy.
Big mood, honestly.
Not only for like the movie's sake, but for like Nancy's sake.
Yeah, because you could tell she was mentally unwell.
Yeah, like the entire movie, she was having issues. For sure she was depressed.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse her behaviors, but
Right.
I do understand why she acted that way.
Mm-hmm.
But
Same with Bonnie. Like she was being a complete she was being um
full of herself.
yeah, full of herself, but also she was just being very vapid
Yeah,
after her spell worked, and I understand why she was doing that. That doesn't make it like okay.
yeah, she was the first time being able to appreciate herself.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, she got a little too much into herself. She lost her empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. She wasn't as nice anymore. I have the Google up for the craft 1996, and um
There's a
Skeet
wikia for it, you know that, right? There's an actual like fandom.
well, I'm just looking at the picture of Skeet Ulrich. I'm not sure how you say it. The guy who plays Chris. And
Oh.
he looks so different, and I keep getting distracted by his picture.
I love that for you.
So fucking different. Which
I bet.
happens when time passes, believe it
Oh,
or
something
not.
I didn't know until I Googled it today. Because I was looking up stuff too.
He's 52.
What? Oh my God.
Time can't pass. What the fuck?
Um, the person who played Nancy opened up their own occult shop, metaphysical shop,
Oh, that's so cute.
and was a practicing Wiccan at the time of the
Oh,
movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And I'm like,
I,
oh, that's neat.
I wonder how you say her name. It's like Feruza Balk? Bach?
I do not know.
Feruza Bach? She's an American actress, musician, and visual artist.
Ooh.
And she's 48 and 5'3".
Oh, she's so much taller than I am. Shorter, shorter. She is shorter than I am not 5'2".
And she is a Gemini.
She looks like a Gemini.
Yeah, she does. Well, good to see that everyone that was in this movie is still alive, I suppose.
Hell yeah.
This is the part where I just get distracted by the IMDb.
I'm just scrolling on oh
Oh, and the person who plays Nancy is in The Craft Legacy.
oh, that's nice.
It looks like she might be the only one from the 1996 Craft that's in the Legacy movie.
Ooh.
I think that might be accurate.
I just find it funny the one actor's name is Skeet.
Right?
I'm sorry. I'm a child.
Yeah, it looks like Feruza, and she plays Nancy.
What?
She's in The Craft Legacy, and she plays Nancy.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It looks like she's the only one from the original movie that's in the Legacy movie.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to see if Lirio was in the Legacy movie.
Oh, it's a sequel. The
It would be
Craft
cool.
Legacy is a sequel.
It would be cool if Lirio was in it, but it doesn't look like she is.
Oh. Oh, it's considered a supernatural horror film. So you are on point with that horror.
Yeah, the original Craft is horror fantasy. So,
Ooh.
which I don't think it's very fantastical, but go off, I guess. Oh, I was gonna say glamour magic. Glamour magic is God, this was like 30 minutes ago, I feel like. Glamour magic is where you put intention into your appearance. And that's the simplest way of putting it. So you're putting intention to how you do your hair, maybe the colors you choose for your makeup for a purpose, for a goal. For example, if you wanted to
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you, be goofy for a second.
What?
Thinking about glamour magic and myself, because I have green hair. You know what
Mm-hmm.
my intention was?
What?
To be as queer as hell. That's what my intention was. Because I have 80s hair now. You've
Fucking
seen
hell
it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's literally 80s hair. Just go back in time.
When my hair was pink, my intention was to be pink.
Hell yeah.
Be femme as possible.
Hell yeah.
Do you think jewelry also counts as glamour magic?
Yes.
Okay, because I use the fuck out of jewelry when it comes to like intentions because like for example, I have an opal ring that I wear whenever I'm meeting someone for the first time or I go to a job interview. I always wear an opal ring to help me with like my charisma and making good first impressions. And job interviews, I will also, in addition to the opal ring, I'll wear my grandmother's diamond ring, the golden
Ooh.
diamond ring for wealth. So yeah, that's glamour magic. And also like color intentions with your makeup, color intentions with your hair. Um and
Makeup.
your clothes
Yes,
too.
clothes. Oh my God, clothes.
Um yeah, that is glamour magic. We cannot magically change our eye color like Nancy says in the movie. You can do that with colored contacts. Um and you can dye your hair. Like
Yes.
uh we cannot instantly change those things.
I mean, you could do extensive plastic surgery if you really wanted to, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah. Um
I don't think it's very safe.
but that is it for the craft, I think. Let us know if you've seen it. Let us know if you like it.
Let us know if there's anything we left out.
Yeah, it's knowing me might have. Is there anything you want to say to the people?
No, but I'm gonna thank you for having me.
I am glad that you came on. Thank you so much. And
I'm
I'm
sad I missed
especially,
Kaya.
yeah, I'm sure there'll be another opportunity to have you on and Kaya at the same time. But I'm really glad that you were available this week since Kaya's off, then I didn't have to do this episode all by my lonesome.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for doing it with me.
Yeah.
So, this is the part where I do the outro, and it's really awkward for you because you just have to sit there and listen.
Yay.
If you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe on all the platforms. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Leave us a review, rate us 5 stars. If you want to support us, you can leave a donation via our Anchor homepage, or you can become a patron and get early access to videos, bonus behind the scenes stuff, exclusive Patreon episodes. I think that's it for Patreon. And I do want to start like saying names and stuff, but we'll have to wait until we get some patrons on that level to say names. So make sure to tell your friends if you like the podcast. And Kaya will be back after her mental health break. Our season 1 is almost over. We'll see you when we'll see you when we see you.
Woo.
I don't know when we're recording next, honestly. Frankly, I don't know, but yeah,
You'll get there.
We'll see you when we see you. Bye, witches.